Hello, everybody. My name is Justin Gotzi, along with Mr. Max Holloway. Max, how you doing, man?
Doing good, my man, doing good.
All right. So, a lot of people who do not know much about you, Max, can you tell us a little bit about yourself for the fans that don't know much about you?
Yeah, just a Hawaiian kid, born and raised on the island of Oahu in Waianae, Hawaii. Started kickboxing when I was 16, now I'm 21 in the UFC, about to be 22, so life's gonna get better.
Now, let's go back down memory lane. We're talking back, the early days of how you got into mixed martial arts. How did mixed martial arts come to your attention?
Um, from the town where I'm in, street fights, is always going on, and somebody always trying to prove that they can beat someone else up, and I just kind of got into kickboxing just because I just wanted to, but feel like I can protect myself and just be safe.
We all have role models growing up. Growing up, were there any mixed martial arts fighters that you looked up to? Who were some of your role models growing up?
The very first guy when I first got into kickboxing and I started training, and then my trainer at the time showed me a clip of a fight of Vince Pulver. So after that, I fell in love with that guy. Every time he fought, he would go out there, put on a show no matter what. He'd fight his heart out, and he'd just go and leave it all in the cage.
Now, for people who do not know, Max actually trains with Gracie Technics. Am I correct, Max?
Yes, sir.
In Honolulu, Hawaii. Now, how has your team helped you, improve your skills, over time during your mixed martial arts career?
A lot. I used to train in a garage gym, and then kind of outgrew the garage. Some of my training partners there, so I needed a new gym, and I found Gracie Technics, and my kickboxing was always my best thing, and found Gracie Technics on the Razors, and he got my jiu-jitsu and wrestling to a whole other level. He's making me into a more complete mixed martial artist.
Now, from 2006 to 2010, you had 3 amateur fights. Like I said, in 2010, you decided to turn pro. Why did you feel after 3 fights as an amateur, you decided to go pro?
Actually I had Sure Dog only has 2 of them, but I had 11 fights. I would stay busy, man. I fought. I think I fought amateurly as. I think I only fought amateur for a year, and I got 11 fights in a year. And I felt great. I felt like I was ready for the next step, and I just took it.
In your pro debut, you faced off against Duke Saragosa at X1 Heroes. Tell us a little bit about your fight. Were there any, were you nervous going out in your pro debut, or did you just, let it sink through and said, I got to go out there, I'm going to treat this, this is you got to make a good first impression. What was your overall reaction with it?
I was nervous. Everybody that tells you that they're not nervous before a fight, you can just call them a liar. You get nervous. It's the nerves. It's just your body telling you that you're ready, and I felt good. I was going to that fight. I knew what I had to do. I was always a 45 fighter, so 55. I lifted a lot of weight. I got a little bit bigger, and I did great. I tried to finish every time I had the chance to finish it. I tried to take it, and you just kept surviving. You just kept fighting out, and I think that was my toughest fight by far. Out of my whole career, I think that first pro fight was my toughest fight.
You 3 fights with X1 and 1 fight with UIC. You got your opportunity with the UFC. How did you get notified that they were really interested in you and they wanted to sign you a contract? Overall, what was that? Signing your name on a dotted line with the UFC. How did that build up? I got a friend in Iowa. I lived with him for 4 months right out of high school. Right when I graduated, I went up there to train with him for 4 months, and
he knows the guy that is Jeremy Stevens' manager, and then Jeremy Stevens was getting ready for Showtime, and my friend told Jeremy Stevens' manager that well, and I fought for him. I fought for him as an amateur too. What is his name? I'm kind of brain for it, but I fought for Midwest cages in Iowa too, so he knew who I was, and my friend Will told him about me and told him, oh, Jeremy needs a training partner for Anthony Pettis. We Max, and Max kind of fights like Pettis, and and then from there I got called from the guy, and I went to train with, I stayed with Jeremy Stevens for 7 or 8 weeks for his whole camp for Jeremy Stevens, for Anthony Pettis, and, I was in his blog every week, and I was getting noticed, and, I think that's what really got me into UFC, introduced me to the UFC, and then I got a manager after that. I got this guy, Brian Hamper from Sucker Punch. He hit me up on Facebook, and we worked from there, and being signed with him for for a month or so, he called me up and told me that he got a fight for me, and it was in the UFC, and I thought he was lying in person, but everything worked out.
All right, Max. 2012 was a huge year for you. 4 fights. They're just 2 months apart from each other. How were you able to pull that off? That's 4 fights against Dustin Poirier, Pat Schilling, Justin Lawrence, Leonard Garcia. That's all in 2012. Those are some big opponents. How were you able to pull that off? Like, everybody would like to know.
Like I said, in an amateur, I fought 11 times in a year or a year and a half time span, as an amateur MMA. And even when I fought kickboxing, we'd fight we'd fight 1 week, and then 1 week later, the next Saturday, so we'd fight on Saturday, the next Saturday we'd have a fight again, and I like to stay busy, I like to fight, I gotta get paid, I love getting paid, but I love fighting too, and not fighting kind of kills me, not having a fight and not having that fight, I love training like anybody else, but it's a different type of training when you got something booked, and it was just awesome to keep busy and just keep it rolling.
Now, you're currently trying to get back into the swing of things. You faced off against Conor McGregor and Dennis Bermudez. You're actually scheduled, most recently, you're going to be facing off against, at UFC Fight Night 34 against Will Chop. What is your game plan going into the fight against Will?
Game plan never changes, I tell everyone that interview me, game plan never changes, just opponents, I'm a striker, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to strike, it goes to the ground, I'm going to try to finish him on the ground. We stay standing, I'll try to finish him standing up. Game plan kind of stays the same, just the opponent change.
All right, Max, 2013 is coming to an end very soon. 2014 is quickly coming. What's next for Max Holloway in 2014?
Big things, man, big things. This 2013 year, I only fought twice. I got 2 losses, and you're only as good as your last fight. In my last 2 fights I lost. So January 4th I get my fight with Will Chops with the year off with a bang. It's first time in Singapore at UFC. So hopefully I can finish this fight in a big way. Build up my followers, in Asia, and just keep it rolling from there.
All right, Max, you're on Twitter. Please plug your Twitter name.
At Blessed MMA on Twitter, even on Instagram. That's BLESSED MMA.
All right, Max, are there any shout-outs you'd like to give?
I'd like to thank you, my man, Justin, for having me on top of MMA Roundtable. Also, I'd like to thank all my teammates, my coaches, Gracie Technics, Ivan Flores, all my teammates for helping me for all my fights. My management team, Sucker Punch, always hooking me up, and my main sponsors out there is Alienware and Boney Aside. So I can't be greater, and just thank you for all the fans and everyone who supports MMA, because without the supporters, I wouldn't be able to be doing this as a job.
Max, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, man. Everybody here at the MMA Roundtable would like to give you nothing but the best. We'll be cheering you on for every fight from here on out. Max, you're the man. Keep on grinding, man.
You man. Have a good one.
You too.